The best AI podcast where we'll continue to grow. A world of innovation where dreams become reality. Come join the movement, let's take AI to the next level. We're breaking barriers, rewriting the code. Together we'll conquer, watch our ideas unfold. The future starts here, joining the revolution. Let's say our podcast, the ultimate solution. In this digital age.
All right, everybody, this is Leland Best at Best Live TV. Welcome to the broadcast. Once again, I have just one of us with me today. Chris Troca couldn't make it. He's got a family affair. We may see Ross McCamey later on during the broadcast, but we're still short Brad Slows, and Greg's just not available right now. So currently, we just have Lee Love with me today, and we're going to bring him right on stage. This is Best AI Podcast. So welcome to the broadcast, Lee. How you doing, buddy?
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I think I missed the I'm great part, but that was because I had a fader on him and I pulled it up at the last second.
Well, I'm still doing great. You're doing great. We're great. How's that?
That's true. And it looks like we've got audio going out, so everything's on the up and up.
Well, that's a bonus.
It seems that way sometimes. So I've got a slot open down below in case Ross shows up. We're just going to go with this 4-up, and I am going to be making adjustments as we go. We came up short on time at the last second. Seems like this podcast just hasn't been fully structured yet. We're working on all of that aspect of it, but we're dang close.
Well, it follows the whole AI model, right? It's just kind of we're making it up as we go.
I totally get that, Lee. So what have you got for us? Have you found out anything new in AI this week?
There's a bunch of things going on, but the two that really interest me were the biggest one was Adobe. I mean, those guys just keep. I gotta hand it to them. I tell you, they kind of lost me here for a couple of years. I didn't feel when they went to a subscription model on their stuff. I bailed. I didn't think, I still use Photoshop, of course, and Lightroom, but I quit using Premiere and all that kind of stuff and went to DaVinci, which I think you were also using, because I felt they were really being innovative. I mean, they were just, every time you turn around, Blackmagic was coming out with something really cool. But now Adobe has really jumped in with both feet into this whole AI space. And they are just doing some amazing stuff there now. So first, of course, is the generative AI and Photoshop. They're now got a new beta going on. You can use for free for Firefly. If you go to firefly.adobe.com, and it's very cool. Yeah, it's really cool. You can do generative AI right in there. The only problem I found with it, though, is it's very restrictive. I mean, like, I'm just trying to create basic, photos of cats and things like that, and it says, can't do this. It didn't like some words.
Oh, really? It tells you right
and that's kind of a problem. I think that's going to be an issue, not with them, but specifically with AI in general, where people put too many blocks on this stuff. So anyway, but the other thing they're adding is that the Ross boy.
Yeah, I think he made it. We're
we're
gonna have to give him a box here. Just
hey,
we gotta get Ross in his place. So just hold up, Ross, while I fit you in the box here. There we go. That's all right.
Yeah, hey, we're just glad to see you, man.
For sure. Now I might have to put your title's even in the right place today. So welcome to the broadcast. It's all good,
meant
man.
to
nice
be.
To see you, bud. So I know, Ross, you're kicking butt, man. I'm watching you out on Facebook lately, and I don't care what anybody says. You're like the bot master. You're out there just crushing bots right now. So tell us a little bit about what you've got going on. Fill us in. What's been happening? Mm-hmm. Mhm. Mhm. Oh,
Wow.
oh, see, you're
Now,
no,
so
no, no.
Ross,
Hold on. This is another one of those days where Ross comes in and we got no audio from him except for what's in the Zoom. I have you
I
recorded in Zoom, but it's not going out to the feed. So everybody out there hears Lee and I, but they're not hearing you because your audio is not going through vMix again like it has in the past. So I can force you out there. Say something for me for a second. This just is one of those stupid things that we have to deal with in this software. Yes, I agree.
well, I have some questions for you, Ross. Well, number one, I'm really curious about how this thing works. So you got to do a demo for us next week. I want to. That'd be really cool. And also, oh,
Yeah.
that'd be great because I mean, I understand the concept. I'd like to see it in action. And this plugin you're talking about.
Yep.
So you're saying this is a Chrome plugin that lets you basically schedule your. I don't quite understand how that works with your AI bot.
So what it does is it will send an outbound message. And what I can do is I can go and crawl Facebook groups. So if it's my ideal clients that are in that Facebook group, I can crawl it. And whenever it crawls it, it pulls in a list of everybody that had any criteria of my ideal client in their Facebook profile. And it
Right.
pulls them into a list. And then I put together cold outbound messages that are basically spin tacks. And then once they respond, the AI that I've prompted with the persona and everything takes over that conversation to get them to
Wow.
qualify to then talk to my team. Then the call to action is to message my team, and we send them the link to our business messenger page. And then they start taking that over, and my AI has a different conversation. So it feels like it was me talking to them. And then I'm like, hey, cool, you want more information? Talk to my team. And then it sends it to my team, which is AI
Yeah.
having that conversation.
That's very cool. I gotta see what you're doing. This is very neat.
At Ava. No, just at Ava. And you'll see this beautiful green-eyed woman that I created using Focus. Here, I'll send it to you. Yeah. Well, I do it in a prompt, so I'll send you the. Oh, for the URL, let me check. Ava demo 1. Yep. I'll put it in the chat.
That's cool.
100%. We are qualifying and answering questions. So we're making sure they know everything that they need to know about it. And they are being qualified every step of the way to make sure that they are the ideal prospect that we want to actually sit down with and have a meeting with. So once they answer all the questions, they're allowed to then book an appointment with me.
And you're doing this right now for the insurance industry, is that correct?
I'm doing this for insurance, mortgage, real
Oh.
estate. I've got roofers, solar. I
Wow.
actually am getting ready to completely get rid of my sub accounts, and I'm focusing on my white label clients instead of semi competing with them.
Hmm.
Yep. I'm saying talk to my team. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, me too.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, it goes through a qualifying step-by-step process, and we have it in there. They need to have customers already that need support on the back end. They need to have inbound leads that we can qualify, or they need to have internal recruiting that they're using for their employees. One of those three are the criteria that we have found right now to be the best use case for the AI as we're developing. Because you can take internally, well, or an internal team that's already there that you need to have basically a archive of SOPs that can just be indexed using the AI. Hey, how do I edit this video? Hey, how do I make this Facebook post? And even still further from that, like let me stay on track. So yes, those are the four criteria that we look for qualification, and then we look for intent to buy and time frame to buy. So we have 5 levels of criteria, and at least 3 of them they need to cross. It needs to be intent to buy, time frame to buy, and one of the other 3 specs that they're using. So if they don't fall within that, it's going to say, "Hey, I'm glad you reached out to us. If you ever have any questions, reach back out. In the meantime, if you want a demo, let us know." And it just pretty much very politely says, "Thanks for having the conversation. We're no longer going to have it."
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, huh. Wow. Huh. Yep, you're right. Well, and chances are that most of my experience has been most of the time we use these for things they had no idea. Or in product when I worked in product management, we'd say, "Oh, a customer wants to do this," and the engineers would go, "Why would they want to do that?"
Yep. That happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Elin and I will go back to the developers and say, "Hey, we want to try this," and they're like, "Give me a use case. I don't
Yeah.
understand." So then we have to walk them through. This is what we need. This is why. And typically, the developers that we work with are very quick to get some things done whenever we're requesting, so long as it makes sense for the group.
Well, what's interesting about this, what I love is that, so I'm thinking, and I'm making a mistake, probably a lot of people are. I'm thinking this is just a knowledge based system. Hey, how do I find this? But you're saying this is really much, much more. It's not just that. And it's not just sales, it really is a whole virtual assistant.
Yeah, and the biggest place that I found that actually I didn't expect to sell this for is on the back end support. In the insurance industry, especially, your insurance agents hit plateaus because customer service starts taking over and they can't sell new policies as much because they're answering billing questions, claims questions,
Ah.
things of that nature. So what I've done is I've built this in to where you put your post bind. So you bound an insurance policy, you start putting in the training data, name and policy number, renewal date, price, payment date, all those things. And then you give your customers the phone number or the Facebook page to interact with. So now your customer support went from a 24 to 48-hour window down to 30 seconds to get a response.
Now, what about training? Does it learn from the questions that people ask, or is that stuff you have to manually put in?
If it falls into, yeah, yep. I'm already over there. All right. So these are my AI assistants. So currently I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 running. So I have 8 AI employees running 24/7. And I'll show you Ava, since we were just having that conversation with her. And what we've done here is we've done identify their interest. So in this, we're starting the conversation by asking about interest in AI VAs as well as asking for their name and the type of business. So what we did there is we actually just captured your data. So I saw that you were in Cat Gizmos was your business that you were in. That went
Right.
into a lead capture form conversationally. So instead of doing a funnel where you have to type everything in, you're just having a conversation and it's just like the AI is taking notes as if it was a human. It's filling out the form on the back end, qualifying and taking all that in. So then in the logs, I can see where you have filled this out, Lee.
Yeah. So nothing's. It says ask my first name, and that was I want to see what this worked, and it said help me personalize the conversation and assist you better. But now I don't know what to do.
All right. So let me look at the chat and we'll see. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
also, I'm looking at this, and for some reason it glitched. It doesn't normally glitch, but maybe it didn't like your name, Lee. It asked for your name again.
Well, it's I understand. Lee should have been fine. Love is the one that gets everybody. I get my spam. It blocks the spam, but I never entered that name in there.
No,
So
you didn't. You just put Lee. Like
yeah,
this
right.
doesn't
So
usually break like this. But
uh,
it didn't like you.
that's the
Yeah,
thing that don't do
yeah.
demos. That's what they tell you in the software business. Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
So
So I
now I
wanted to
go
see
back and
how it
see
worked.
oh.
Uh, Wow. Okay, here's something that's very interesting. So I didn't tell it anything about me. I just said my name, right? It went out and must have looked at my site, my Facebook page, because it came back and said it knew that I was interested in health, behavior, and nutrition for cats, and it found that information.
That's interesting. Because it does pull in your data.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. You're right.
That is interesting.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm. It's working. Yep. So I was hoping it would actually break here
I
because
can,
what's
I
going to
can,
happen is it will let me trigger the human rollover.
I could ask it for, do they have bikinis for cats? Maybe see what it's.
See what it says.
Different kind of cat, I think we're talking about. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, my broken brain is what it is. Uh, yeah,
All
really.
right. So if this were to trigger a human rollover, this would go red here instead of green.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be able to click on this and I would give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If I give it a thumbs up, it will actually train the answer that it gave and it'll put it in the training data over here in training data. It will actually add on its own a question and answer. So it'll put the question that was asked and the response. If I hit a thumbs down and I make it red, it will give me a text box to respond. I can type the answer. And as soon as I hit send on that, it will send that question and my answer to this training area and it will automatically train it as it goes. So then all I have to do is come in here and hit start training and it will update. And the next time someone asks that question, it will respond in the same way. So it does learn as it goes, yes.
Wow.
Also, what's cool is I can follow along via Facebook Messenger the entire conversation here. And if it triggers a human rollover, all I have to do is respond on my cell phone and then continue it and trigger it back to AI handled for the next response. Yes. There's not another system that I've seen out there that allows you to roll it from human to AI and back and forth. Uh, and that's one thing that is really unique about our system that gives it a lot of power.
So it asked me how I found out about the bot. So I told it some Yahoo named Ross told me about it. And it came back and said, "That's great to hear that Ross introduced you to the idea of using AI virtual assistant for your business. How do you think AI virtual assistant can specifically benefit cat gizmos?" It's interesting because it's definitely narrowing. It's asking me the same basic question over and over. It's trying to find out what I'm attempting to do with it.
Yep.
And that's good. I'm figuring I'm seeing what it's doing here. So I'm going to tell it I don't know, and let's see what it says.
And let's see what stage. You are on stage 3 right. That's fine.
I'm just yeah. I'm
Sounds
just
good.
I said I'm not sure what it can do, okay?
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a quick real world example. I recently added a voice IP phone. Now I've had voice over IP for since I don't know, a long, long time. But I added a phone, an IP phone. And I wasn't quite sure how to configure it. It's not that I don't understand the technology, but the terminology is different. It's not something I'm familiar with. So I reached out to the company. They were worthless. They could not. They said they kept coming back with the same reply. "I'm sorry, we can't help you with third-party products." I'm like, all I want to know here is what it's asking. Can you tell me what information I should put in there that you provide. It took 3 or 4. So finally I went to the CEO, wrote him a message, say, look, you guys, I said, you guys need to get this squared away because, and so what happened is I basically found another company and now I'm testing this other company. I'm probably going to move my service over there. And I said, you guys have no video on your site, no knowledge base, no chat, no nothing. So, I've been a customer of them since for probably 8 years. But because they can't give me any support, I'm going to move off. Now, the company I'm looking at, I'm working with is great. Their support has been fantastic. Yeah, no. Y- Yeah, right. Well, no, I have one of those analog to, digital voice over IP to analog converter. That's what I use for my regular phone here, my wireless, regular phone. But I wanted to add a different phone for here for cat gizmos and more phone lines, and so that's why I put this in here. Mm,
Yep.
it's just yeah. Yeah, it's a Grand Stream phone. It's a very common phone, and you see them every that or a Cisco, probably the two most well-known phones. But they all use SIP, which is this protocol they talk to. So that part wasn't difficult, but I want to make sure my firewall was set up right and all that. Anyway, these other guys. My point of all of this is that this one company is going to lose my business because they didn't have any way like Ross is showing. All they had to do was implement something like this, and I'd have been fine. I'd have been fine. I like chat most of the time because I get my answer quickly, in and out, I'm done.
Yep. And we're actually getting ready to get voice added to this too. So if you did call in, it uses that same stage framework and it'll answer your questions right then and there if they trained it on their SOPs, all that kind of stuff via voice. Or you can say, hey, I'd rather have you text me. Can you text me? And then it'll start having a text conversation.
Hmm.
So it'll have both. Mhm. Mhm.
Well,
Yeah. Yep.
That's
And basically,
amazing.
we're giving it a framework.
Yeah. Mm.
This is slick, Leland.
And that's no, I just asked Ross, and so that's a good. The training is a great question because that adds. I think that's probably the one that I would have, and I think most clients would have. Okay, hey, this is great. I want it. Now the next step is how do I train it? And Ross, you're saying that's kind of a service you guys are doing. Is that correct?
Yeah, let me show you. I'll pull up my Loom video that I did that demo on, and I'll walk you guys through it. It's less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, so this is our system, and I'm going to walk through how we actually create an AI assistant. So you click on this button, and you can go through all of our templates here that are already built out, which I usually don't. I usually build out custom systems, which is what I'm going to show you. All you do is put in a framework. In here, I use what's called the catch method, and it's a framework to sell. So you're going in and you're asking the questions and you're going through driving them down to the final purchasing conversation. And then I give it a purpose. You're going to qualify a lead that's coming in from social media or an ad. So this is pretty much what you do. What I do is I take this catch method and I put it into ChatGPT and say, I want you to organize the catch method as a prompt for my AI assistant. Then it's big, it's there, copy and paste it in. The next thing this is going to ask for is your industry. So as you fill out the industry question, this one was for real estate because I was doing a real estate demo. And then the company is just whatever your company is. So in your case, Lee, it would be the cat gizmos is the industry or the business. I don't know how if that's one of the
That's
two,
yeah.
but you
It,
would put that in. Go ahead.
uh,
Um, did that
yeah.
work? This is the video. I have a 49-inch widescreen, so whenever it goes, yeah. Oh, that's not it. Okay. So then you put in the AI employee name and then their role, and then you create it. And then I pause it here and pick it back up when it's done. And then that's really what I do for 90% of my demos. But for what I do for like my business for the backend support, you would go in and you would actually do training data on it. And it's really very simple. But what you do here is you go through and you check the opening messages, and then you would go through and check all of the prompts here to make sure that they're good in the stages. And once you do that, that takes care of about 75 to 90, depending on your business model, percent of the questions that it's going to be asked and how it would handle it.
So
So
can you give me some guidelines on training data? What kind of things would a customer typically want to use for training data? So let's say you got a bunch of now if you had a support system or knowledge base, of course that's easy, but let's say I don't have that. Let's say I have research papers and websites and things like that, but I don't have any data of my own. How would I train that?
uh depends on what your use case is. So if you're using it for actually, the first place I start with all of my customers is you need to outline your customer journey from prospect to customer support.
Okay.
So, what does it look like when you're onboarding leads? What does it look like when you get a qualified lead? What does it look like to onboard that customer for the first time? What does it look like to then provide support on the back end? So, once you get that figured out, now you've figured out the customer journey, and then you can start putting in FAQs at each space. So, I would create a separate one for customer support, then from sales and booking on the front end, and you would want to make sure that your Q and A's are in line there. And then I would develop a website that is specifically for that training data and put it in. So not everybody has access to a web builder, but in this day and age, you can pretty much get one for free.
Mm-hmm.
And I would put all of my data into a website, and you don't even have to buy a domain. You would just need to get the preview URL. And then once you use that preview URL, you train that data on that. And every time you update that website, just go back in and hit start training, and it will retrain everything and it'll be up to date immediately.
Nice. That makes mm-hmm. Right. Hmm.
Depends, like on our system, depends on what it is. You're paying per message. So yeah, ChatGPT tokens are not that expensive, but on our system that we have our costs from the developers that makes it a little bit higher. Uh, yeah.
Hmm.
Let me show you this too, so you have more context on the cost. So this is another AI system that I use, and it's for commenting on people's posts on Facebook. So this is another one that's a Chrome extension. This one is called Engagement Monster AI. So I've had this running since I think a little after 420. I think 421 I had it running. And you can see it's commented 791 times and it's done a reaction on a post 793 times.
Now those are posts, not messages, huh?
These are comments on posts. Yeah. So I have two
Wow.
different systems. One of them does comments on other people's posts, and one messages people directly. This one actually is the one that's more powerful.
Hmm.
I get more from this than I do that other one that does direct outbound because this increases my Facebook engagement. So
Right.
because this is going out, I've seen a 300% increase in engagement on my posts over the past week in this, and you can see what's happening here. So
Can
it's
I could you also do this on Twitter?
this one does not work on Twitter. This is Facebook only.
Okay.
So
Well, the reason is what I'm learning is that the way to get better traction on Twitter is to reply and engage. That's how the system works. It's different than Facebook in that regard, and that apparently that's what ups your exposure. So,
yep. And then Leland, if you want to share, I can show you the cost of running this every day with OpenAI.
yeah.
So this is what my back end looks like on OpenAI using GPT-4.
Okay.
So the first day I ran it, I spent $2.05, and I think I did 100 comments on that. The second day, I spent $7.84, and that one I did 200 and some odd comments. And then I gave it more. I was putting comments on posts every 2 minutes, and then I backed it off to 8 minutes. So I spent $3.10 the next day, 277, and then 419. And then I thought, this is commenting on a lot of pages and groups that I don't need it to. So I backed it off to every 15 minutes. It started putting out a comment, and I reduced my cost, and I actually got more engagement because now it was actually commenting on real people's pages instead of just anything it saw.
Okay.
Four, because this is conversational. This is not trained on anything. This is taking the context of the post and it's coming up with, I created this big long prompt that you can see here for the persona of my AI. I gave it my name. I told it's my chief marketing officer. It's super cool, laid back guy. Training was extensive under Alex Hormozy, Ryan Stewman, Billy Jean, different people that I wanted to think like. I gave it brand guidelines, social media interaction guidelines, and then operational guidelines. And then down further, I give it a prompt for each message. Keep your comments short and sweet, aiming for under 7 words, keeping the engagement light and easy. Read the image on the post to add context to your comment. After the response, when it makes sense, ask an engaging question pertaining to the post comments. And then do not pitch my AI VAs because it's my chief marketing officer. And part of my data was telling it what we do for a living. I had to make sure it's not pitching on these comments.
So how does that work? Explain, because I love that. That's exactly where I was going with this thing. So it comments, it makes a hey, great post, I love this, cool looking cat kind of thing. But then how do you drive business from? How do you get that to make the leap to message you?
So for that, this is purely, I don't care if this thing drives in business or
Okay,
not from that perspective.
it's just
This,
exposure for you and your business.
yes.
Okay,
So then when I make a post, it's going to get more engagement. 300% is where I'm at right now. So now I get that many more people seeing what I'm doing and I make offers on my posts.
got it.
Mhm.
Hmm. Wow. Mhm. Hey, Leland, I just got a message saying there's no audio. You have no audio going out. Yeah. it's it, it's a plot that Ross and I have going on. We're trying to pull an Alexander Haig on you.
Oh, you know what? It was going out that way before. Are you guys hearing two of me now? So
No.
this whole time, nobody's been hearing me on the out. Well, it's a good thing I'm recording in Zoom anyway. Okay, so from this point, let's
So
go
you're
to-
talking about. So you're talking about. I asked a question about about Facebook, and you're telling about how it works and with digital influencer. That was the thing you're telling people.
Yeah, what I've done recently, if you guys remember from the last broadcast, or one of the last broadcasts, I was showing people basically how to, here, let's see if I can bring this up, run 8 N8N, or otherwise known as Nathan, that's the way it's pronounced, is a workflow app that Ross and I have been playing with a little bit. He's managed to do a couple things with it. I managed to use a template that was built out by N8N, or Nathan. What I'm doing with this app currently is I'm running it through Docker on my Mac Mini M1. So I have Docker software running a container that has the application along with active pieces next to it running inside a browser. So all of the data is being contained on my machine in my own network. This is an open source build. So I'm not paying for this. It's basically a back-end automation system. And I created an AI Twitter influencer for Best AI Podcast. And
Okay.
what I showed people before was this allows me to set up a scheduled post. So I have to go in and basically set up these triggers. I'm setting up a trigger to fire off every 6 hours, or manually I can just click this button and have a tweet go out just by pushing the button. It configures the influencer by setting up the information I need it to know about the influencer. Like in this case, the niche that they're involved in. So what is the niche? Well, cutting edge AI insights and news is what should actually be there. News and insights, let's see. I want to make sure that's in there. I left the word news out last time too.
How's this been working for you, Leland?
Really good. I'll show you in just a second. So we test all these, and what I have is a separate string for the niche, the style, the inspiration, and the persona of the bot. Okay. And then when the configured influencer goes to ChatGPT, it takes that content that I've given it as a means to determine what to tweet. And now I'm prompting that, okay, you're a successful modern Twitter influencer. I'm using GPT 3.5. And then each of these are specific items as system prompts where you have a very specific niche, and it uses the JSON entry that was used for the specific niche. Same with the style of writing that they're going to use. It's going to carry forward that variable that I used to create the writing style. And then it's going to tell it to follow the principles described in your inspiration sources and write your tweet based on that. And then it even tells it to go back and verify that the tweet's long enough, that it has hashtags and emojis, that it's nothing else in response except for the tweet. And then from there, that tweet is also taken one step further to say, take the time in writing it. Think about what I've given you as the knowledge that you have to be an influencer, and then give a call to action to come visit bestaipodcast.tv in every post. So we test these at each stage. And then when we get to here, it validates the tweet so that it can confirm it's no greater than 280 characters. And if we wanted to add other conditions to that, we could for sure. Mm-hmm. And then it goes and posts that tweet out on X. And the way it actually does that is if I execute the previous nodes, you'll see it go through each of those prompts. And then the branch comes out where here's the tweet that goes out with the emojis. And in this case, it says, unveiling the mystery behind AI. Join me on a mind-bending journey through the world of artificial intelligence. Let's decode the future together. AI, innovation, future tech. Visit bestaipodcast.tv. And if I head to my Twitter account real quick, you'll see over the last, they locked my account. I have to authenticate. See, they know that I'm running a bot now.
I hate that authentication system they're all using now. It's annoying.
What do I got to do? Match the icons on the left with the ones on the top. Face of the dice. What?
Oh, make those images match the dice. So
Yeah.
scroll over until you see those images on the dice.
Oh, I got you.
No, yes.
In that order, right?
Yeah, so you hit the arrows, the right and left arrows to line them up.
Okay, so I just had to prove I was human because I was basically bot posting on Twitter with a bot, and X is pretty smart. He knows what I'm doing. But you'll see over the last several 24, 48 hours, every 6 hours on the mark, 19 hours, 13 hours ago, 7 hours ago, I've got posts going out. Now, these were before I actually ran with the call to action. So these were just generic posts with no call to action. I didn't have the link on there. And that may be why it caught me, because now I'm sending the link and I'm not really certain that it even allows for a link to go out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an automated post. I'm just going to do it on a trigger, and we'll see if it actually does post the post out that we want to have it do. And it only takes a couple seconds really to done.
Leland, can you automate a comment whenever you have a post go out on your Twitter account?
Oh, I have not done that yet. I would like to. I'm sure there's a way to do that if you try hard enough. I just haven't done it yet.
My thought, and we'll play with that and see, because I'm about to build this Twitter influencer too. My thought would be, the workaround would be to say your call to action would say see comments.
Yeah.
And then you would post the link in your comments every time.
That's a good idea too. All right. So I haven't seen it go through yet, and it could take a minute or it could block it. I can't say for sure whether links are allowed or not, because this post went off 7 hours ago and it locked me out at the 6 hours. So it would have posted an hour ago. And that's where I think it locked me, because that was my first one out with a link in it. And it could be I might not be able to run an influencer with a automated tweet with links in it. There's a good possibility that Elon's not allowing that anymore. So I'll just have to follow through and follow up and see what that's capable of. But that's one system. You know, we have several others. There's so many automation systems out there right now, like this one. Late Node just finally, I'm a partner with Late Node. They just went live with their billing system yesterday, I believe it was. So that's another one if you want to know more about that one. That one's based on time segments rather than task involvement, like how many tasks you get charged for. This is 30-second time segments. So you can get a lot done in 30 seconds with a prompt through automations if it's a nice, smooth automation system. I could pull this off in 10 seconds, so I wouldn't really be charged much at all for this. Zapier charges a lot of money, and the highest priced one out there right now. All right, guys, what else you got for us tonight? I think we can wrap it at that. We've kind of covered a lot. What are we looking forward to next? We've been playing with the new audio app, udio.com, which
That thing
Chris
is amazing.
It's just blowing the doors off of so many other audio apps right now. So go check it out, udio.com. And if you want the free bot, again, go.aiochatbots.com. It's just something for you guys to play with. Learn how to train a chatbot. I want people to know how to do this. If you guys, are in that ilk that think they want to form an agency or sell bots or whatever, I mean, who knows? You might have an agency and you just want to help provide another service for your web builds that you do for people. Let us know. We're happy to provide those bots for you. And Lee, we still got to build you one.
Yep, definitely.
All right, Lee, what else you got coming up?
That's it. Apparently, I'm getting an echo on my audio, or guest or someone, a listener reported. So I'll just hush up.
I don't like that that's happening. Oh, I know what it is, Lee. It's going to be corrected. I have separate audio recordings here. We've been running into this snag, I don't know how long, because we're attempting to run audio feeds from Zoom through vMix and out to you guys through another app. And the problems we've had with this new Zoom build through vMix are beginning to get a little complicated. One thing that I do have the ability to do now is AIO Sessions, which was the account we used for the first run, now has live streaming incorporated into it. So we could start a live session streaming account for our workshops or what have you. The only thing we lose in that is all the fancy graphics that we do here on vMix. I like the fancy graphics. I'm a producer. I like to build shows. So that's why we do it this way. If we have to change that up in the future, we will. But for now, we're just going to roll with it and see what comes. If you're interested and want to play a part in the show, let us know. We're happy to bring you on. I love guests. So the more, the merrier sometimes, just to have you on to talk about how you use AI in your business or in your personal life. Other than that, we're going to fire up the workshop starting next week. That's my plan. I said that last week, but we went through another death in the family last week, so we couldn't get that thing fired up, and I apologize for that. So moving ahead, that's the game plan. I'll be getting together with Ross on some automation stuff, Lee on some of the graphic and video work that we're doing so that we can kind of get things prepared for you guys to understand better how to do this yourself. Because we can show you all day long what we do with it, but that's not helping any of you understand how to do it and actually do it yourself. That's what we want to do next. So, all right, guys, that's all I got. I can't think of much else.
Thanks, Leland. Thanks, Ross.
Yeah, I would love to create a small resource page on bestaipodcast.tv where we have links to some of the most appropriate softwares that we've either demoed for you or use ourselves that we're confident with, and obviously packages that aren't going to cost you if we can help it. We're going to get you on some of that open source stuff too. So, all right, guys, that's it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for being here as always. And once again, this has been a Best AI Podcast. Visit us again Sunday nights at 7. Tonight at 9, we're dropping the audio and video of last week's podcast with Ross, I, and Chris. Chris was in Vegas, so we just kind of threw one together and had some fun last week. Go check that one out at 9 p.m. tonight, and then this one will air again in its edited form sometime next week around noon. So take care, everyone. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the